Hi, and welcome to The Stacks, a podcast all about books. I'm your host, Tracy Thomas, and this week we're talking to journalist and writer Heather John Fogarty. Before we talk with Heather, let's do just a little housekeeping. Come check out the awesome community we're building over on Patreon. Patreon is a website that allows you to be a real-life patron of the arts. You commit to as little as $1 a month, and you know you're helping make an independent podcast happen. You also get some awesome perks like joining our virtual book club, submitting questions for our guests, and getting a shout out on the show. Like our newest members of the Stacks Pack, Pete Forrester and Janelle Jansen. Thank you. It's super easy, and you just go to patreon.com/thestacks and you join the fun. If a monthly subscription doesn't really work for you, check out our PayPal. Go to paypal.me/thestackspod, and you can do a one-time donation there to help support the show. Anything you contribute is super, super helpful. So thank you for being a part of making this show happen. Did you know that if you shop on Amazon, you can help The Stacks by clicking through the links in the show notes or on our website before you shop? The Stacks earns a small commission on these purchases, and it comes at no cost to you. It's super easy. You just click the link and you shop, and it's guilt-free shopping because you know you're helping out the show. Here is your weekly reminder to subscribe to the show wherever you listen to your podcasts. We're on Apple, Google, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, wherever. And if you're listening through Apple Podcasts, will you please rate and review the show? It goes a long way. It helps us reach new audiences. So please take a few seconds to just write a little blurb about why you listen. Now it's time for the show. This week, our guest is journalist Heather John Fogarty. Heather's work has been featured in the LA Times, LA Review of Books, Marie Claire Magazine, and more. Heather also was an editor at Bon Appetit magazine. She is an avid reader, and let me just say, get your TBR ready because Heather comes in with all the book recommendations. So let's get started. Here we go. Okay, everybody, we're back this week with Heather John Fogarty, a journalist whose work can be found in the LA Times, LA Review of Books, Marie Claire, Playboy, and she's been featured on NPR. Heather, welcome to The Stacks.
Tracy, thank you for having me.
I'm so excited. Okay, will you tell the people a little bit more about yourself besides just where we can find your work?
So I've been living in Los Angeles for the past close to 20 years. I'm a mom. I'm a writer, and right now I have taken a break from writing, and I'm testing recipes for a new cookbook. So
this is the coolest thing I've ever heard. I was lucky enough for Heather to cook for me, and basically it's the Cheesespaka cookbook.
Cheesespaka.
I've been saying it wrong. Cheesespaka, and they send you their cookbook.
Well, what they do is they have a whole list of recipes that they need tested, but they're chefs. And so they need a home cook to try them because that's who's going to be cooking from the book. And so I drive up to Moza and get a big box of ingredients, and I take them home and I cook them for friends like you.
And it's amazing. And sometimes it's a total failure, and sometimes it's the greatest thing you've ever done in your life.
It's mostly the greatest thing I've ever done in my life. But, one time I spent hours, maybe days, making a lobster stock. And then when I went to turn it into a roux, my proportions of butter and flour were off, and it just never thickened up. And when you've spent that much time, it's infuriating.
Oh, my God. And how did you get to be someone because I feel like I would love for someone to pay me to test recipes. Like, how did they go to you? How'd they know to go to you?
Well, so I was at the LA Times for years and Bon Appetit after that for a long stretch. And one of my favorite writers has written the last, 4 or 5 cookbooks with Nancy Silverton and Carolyn Carreño. And
they're the people who run Cheesespaka?
Well, Carolyn is the writer who co-authors with Nancy, and Carolyn is an old colleague and friend of mine, and she told me she was doing the next cookbook, and one thing led to another, and I ended up saying sure.
You're like, yes, I'd like to see all these. Yes, I'd like to do the Bundino.
Yes. That's how it all began.
So good. Okay, so you were at Bon Appetit, and that's the magazine.
Correct.
And you were the editor?
I was the wine and spirits editor.
That's right, the wine and spirits editor.
But thank you for the promotion.
Well, I was going to say the editor of Wine and Spirits, but then I got stuck. But yes, you own the magazine. And how do you find out that that's something like it seems so specific, right? Like when you were like, I'm going to be a journalist, or how did you get from wanting to do the work to getting to wine and spirits?
Well, so I wanted to work in magazines, and I had this, I grew up reading Vogue, and I loved Vanity Fair, Harper's Bazaar. And in fact, I ended up as working my dream job as style editor at the LA Times. But before I was in magazines, I worked in wineries right out of college.
Because you're from?
I'm from Napa Valley, and I went to Davis and studied wine there as well. So when I got to the LA Times, part of what I oversaw in the style section were the food pages and some drinks coverage. And so I would write stories every once in a while just for fun.
Right.
And at the time, Bon Appetit was based in Los Angeles. And so they called me up when they had this opening. And I had not considered making a move out of style. But, oh my God, talk about a dream job.
Yeah.
So I was there for 7 years.
Oh, wow. Okay. This might sound like a dumb question, but, here I am. What's the actual difference in job between like an editor and an everyday journalist? Like, what were your responsibilities that were different? Because I know some editors also write.
So I did both.
Okay.
At Bon Appetit, I was the columnist as well as an editor. But editors assign content and they match it up with a writer who they think is going to be perfect for tone and style. And for me, that was the most creatively fulfilling part of the job. I really miss that as a freelance writer, kind of getting to conceive of it. And I love authors, and so matching up a story to a writer was, one of the things I love the most.
And are you also coming up with the ideas for the stories?
Yes.
Okay. So you're kind of in charge of what will be in the magazine and then also who's writing about it.
That's true. But also, it also works that writers pitch ideas.
Okay.
And it works that way too. Yeah.
So you'll say yes or no or work on this. And but how much of the job is that's a line editor who does like the actual editing of the pieces, or you kind of edit some of the bigger picture and then you send it to someone who talks about commas and semicolons?
Correct.
Okay.
I was a content editor, and I did some line editing, but really, I did, the copy editor is the one who, makes sure all the
commas and things are in place, which sounds like my nightmare, but there are people who are like amazing at it.
Totally.
And, like,
we need those people.
Right. I wish there were those people in my personal writing life. Okay. I just am fascinated by journalists, and I think it's really cool that you were writing about like a thing, like things. And I'm sure there are people involved in those things, like the winemakers or, whatever the story is. But this idea that like you could just be diving deep into a vodka.
Well, yeah, that's a good day when that happens. No, I absolutely loved it. And as a columnist, very rarely, I have no interest in wine ratings or descriptions, really. I think you can learn a lot more about a specific wine or an area by meeting the people who live there and who farm the land and who are hands-on, and that tells you much more.
Right. I also happen to know that you used to be part of a really important thing that happens in food in LA. Do you know what I'm getting at?
Maybe.
You had a vote, maybe?
I had a vote. I had a voice. I was, for, I think, maybe 7 or 8 years, I had the great honor of being a judge for the James Beard Restaurant Awards.
Which is like the awards.
Well, it's the Oscars.
Yeah, it's the one.
Yes.
Like you are part of the Academy.
Well,
in movie talk.
Sure.
How many people were judges?
I should know the answer to that, but I don't. And
like 10 or like 100?
No, because we were all across the country.
Okay.
And so there could have been as many as 10 in Southern California. I don't know. We had regional chapters.
And so you only do your region. Like
No.
they don't fly you all over the world.
They don't fly you anywhere.
Okay.
But you can vote on anything in the country provided you've eaten there.
Got it. So
Sure.
like if you went to New York, you could
Right.
put your 2 cents in.
Mm-hmm.
And can you think of like of your time, one particular restaurant that just stands out like as the one that has all your love and affection?
Ooh, that's a tricky one. Gosh, you've really caught me off guard there.
Sorry.
Recently I had a meal that blew my mind at Gwen.
Yes.
It was so special and delicious and all the good things, minus the price tag.
Yeah.
But in real life, I tend to prefer a much more simple restaurant dining experience. And so, I would put a number 19 pastrami sandwich at Langer's right up there in the Hall of Fame.
Sure. You sit down to earth. I love it. Okay. So we haven't really talked about this yet, but you also got a master's.
I recently completed a master's of fine arts in writing. Yes.
Because you were like, I write as a journalist, but I also have maybe like some stories in me.
Sure. I have 2 young boys. They're now 10 and 6, but after my oldest was born, I was feeling a little burnt out as a freelancer, and I took some creative writing classes at UCLA, and it just completely exercised a different muscle. It made me more creative in my day job. And I started on a novel that I just kind of couldn't stop. And so I submitted it and was given a generous fellowship to complete it at Otis College.
Nice. And so that was a 2-year program?
It was a 2-year program, yeah.
And what was it like going back to school as a full-on adult?
You mean as a 45-year-old when everyone else was in their 20s?
Yeah, totally.
It was great.
Yeah, did you love it?
I loved it. And I was, so nerded out and ready for class and not, sleeping in and blowing off. Yeah.
Like had a real job and everything.
Totally.
In between. And so you wrote a book.
I wrote a book.
And now what? So I know a lot of my listeners are readers, but also many, which I was shocked by, are writers or hopeful writers of their own novel, Great American Novel. So what was the process like for you?
Well, I came up in newspapers. And so when I got to Otis, the first thing the head of the department said is, we're really going to have to deprogram you as a journalist and teach you to think like a fiction writer. And the note that I kept getting sort of at the beginning there was great journalism, terrible fiction writing. So it's really show, don't tell.
Right.
And I highly recommend seeking out, if that's something that you're interested in, an MFA program, because for me it was an incredible experience, and it really challenged me and challenged my writing practice.
Yeah. And so you wrote the majority or the entire book basically in the program.
I went in there, in fact, with about 100 pages.
Okay.
But I scrapped a lot of those and rewrote and ended up probably closer to 300 when it was finished.
And how long before the program were you working on? Like, how long have you been working on the book?
It took me over 4 years to write.
Wow.
And rewrite.
So it turns out that's like most people. Like most people take, like, I always thought books were written like, like a paper. It's like, oh, I did it in a few weeks. Like, no. Like years.
Years.
Mm-hmm. I don't have the patience for that. I'm like, if it can be written in a day, I gotta go. Not quite, but I appreciate.
But we need
like
readers.
Yes,
there are writers and there are readers,
yes.
and some of us are both.
You're definitely both, which we're about to get to. I know that part of the process of writing your book is then sending it out to people in the hopes that it gets picked up. And from what I understand, basically everyone in the history of the world, that's the worst part.
Well, I don't know, because this is where I am. It could get even worse than this. But so the first thing is to find representation.
Right.
And so the best I can liken it to is sort of like meeting your partner or spouse. And it has to be someone who shares your vision, because from the time that agent takes on your work, And if that agent is able to sell it to a publisher, it can take a year to 2 years before, with revisions and publication, it can take 1 to 2 years before it's in print. And so that person has to be wanting to spend that kind of time with you and your characters.
Right.
So
and want to work with you on it.
Absolutely.
Like spend the time working on it. Yeah. It is. That's interesting to think of it as like you're dating.
Right.
You're looking for someone to love.
And, it's funny because through this whole process, which is challenging because you're putting yourself out there, you're super vulnerable. I was reading a book recently that I didn't love. And I also recognized it as being an incredible book and deserving of all of its hype. But had I been an agent and it had come across my desk, I would have said, "Oh, this is going to be big, but I don't want to. I'm not in." Yeah.
What's the book? Oh, you don't want to say. I think I know now. Just say it. No one cares.
No one cares because it's brilliant and it'll probably win a Pulitzer.
Yeah, I loved it.
You loved it. I did not love There.
It's okay.
It had too many characters for me. I wanted to go deeper into some of them.
You're definitely not alone. I've talked to people who loved it. I loved it. And then people who were like, I have no idea who anybody was. Like, I just couldn't quite sit in it. And I think that for me, I liked it because, I like nonfiction and like fast moving and plot. And so I didn't really care if I kind of would like go back and be like, oh, wait, who was that again? But I was like really interested in what was going to happen. So for me as a plot driven person, characters are almost always just like, I don't know. I don't fall in love with characters. So to me, it was like, fine.
Well, I mean, and I think we can both agree that the writing was incredible.
Amazing.
It's amazing.
And I'm from Oakland, so I love that.
Of course.
That was like huge for me.
Sure.
But it's true. Like if I think about that a lot when I talk about like books that I loved or didn't love and the moment in which I read them in my life, and like, I wonder if 5 years ago I would have appreciated There at all because I was in such a nonfiction place. And over the last year, I've started moving a little bit more towards fiction. And so I, as an editor, I'm sure that's true too. Or like a person who takes on a book, I want like depending on what the last book they did was, and like, do I want to do this kind of thing again, or am I feeling like emotionally, maybe their mother just died and they don't want to do a heavy, it's just like all those things probably play into it for them too, I guess. I mean, I don't know.
It's very personal, as is what
Writing
we like to read.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm shocked that you have me on this show because I'm so fiction and you're so not.
I don't discriminate about reading.
You do a little bit.
No, but not what you read. Like as long as I don't have to read it. So Heather and I know each other from my other life as a fitness instructor. We connected because we love reading, and Heather's one of the few people, which you guys have heard me talk about, who I actually will listen to their book recommendations in real life. So Heather is the one who recommended The Mars Room, which we did on the show. And Heather also, you've told me about some of my favorite books in the past because you also told me about The Devil's Highway, nonfiction.
I love that. Yeah,
so good.
Still so good.
I mean, I read it this year, and it was written 14 years ago.
I think that's probably why reading it right now is pretty disturbing because
nothing's really changed.
Correct.
In a good way.
Right.
The Devil's Highway is by Luis Alberto
Urdia.
Yeah, you did it. Urdia. And it's about immigration. It's about people coming across the border from Mexico, and it's one particularly devastating story of a group of men, but it's really great and it still holds up, unfortunately. Okay, let's get to your reading habits. What are 2 books you love?
2 books that I love are Desperate Characters by Paula Fox and Elsewhere, California by Dana Johnson.
And you have to tell us about both of those.
Okay, so I will say that if in my top 5 favorite novels, those 2. And Desperate Characters is this book that was written in the late 60s, and it's not talked about a lot. It's certainly not taught, and it's about gentrification in Brooklyn, and it's pretty incredible. And then the second one, Elsewhere, California, is written by Dana Johnson, who's a professor at USC and just one of my all-time favorite writers. She's incredible, and it's not autobiographical at all. beyond the fact that the character is a Black woman from, I think, Watts, who moves to West Covina and then back to LA and is married to a white man. So those plot points
are true to the author,
but the rest is completely an exploration of Los Angeles. And
awesome. I'm so excited about having you on. I know you're going to say all these books that I've never heard of and read. I'm going to be like adding them to my list. What's a book you hate or don't like, if you don't like to say hate?
You know, a book I had a strong negative reaction to was My Absolute Darling by Gabriel Talent.
I've heard this. Tell us why.
Well, I had such high hopes for it because his mother is like this cult literary figure. And as a result, the book got praise from some of my favorite writers, and it is set in Mendocino, and I'm from Northern California. And I don't know, like, I feel like he's writing a teenage girl who's being sexually abused by her father. And it feels like the sexual trauma or abuse is somehow romanticized. Yeah.
You're not the first person I've heard this from. I've heard it from a lot of people, actually, that it's like gross because it's kind of like
it's
a
gross,
fantasy almost, but it's the way it's written, or like that it's like, yeah.
And then if you want to go check out on Goodreads, Roxane Gay has the best reviews.
So. Her reviews on Goodreads
this is so good.
So delicious, amazing.
Yes.
She's not afraid to be like, you're terrible or you're amazing.
Right.
Like she goes all in. What's the last great book you read?
Well, I love The Mars Room, as you know. The writing made me so mad. It was so good. I almost threw the book across the room.
Because you liked it so much.
Yeah, I just kept rereading paragraphs. Like, how did she do that? Like, the writing is crazy.
Because you're reading not only as a reader and a lover of books, but also as a writer and a lover of writing the words and like the structure and how it all plays out.
I think when you're reading something, like I know you're reading The Executioner's Song right now, and it might seem like the writing in places is really flat, but that's such a deliberate choice. Right. And the length of his sentences and how they back up are, I mean, they're...
And while you're reading, you are noticing that in real time.
Sometimes.
If it's
sometimes where I'm like, what just happened?
Right.
I go back and I reread.
That's so interesting. I love that. That's not how my brain works because I'm not a writer. So I'm reading it, and I guess I'm feeling whatever they're trying to make me feel. And you're noticing like, oh, they're trying to make me feel this by writing it this way or that way or whatever.
I think that's why there bugged me a little bit. It felt like such a constraint,
sure.
The sort of structure of it. But anyway,
it's okay.
He's going to win all the awards.
You think?
I do. I think he deserves them too.
I think he'll win some of them. I wonder. I don't know. I mean, I think he didn't make the short list for the National Book Award. He got longlisted. I don't think he got I don't think he was a finalist. But The Mars Room was a finalist for the Man Booker, but
Amazing.
She didn't win. The Milkman or something. I don't know. Have you read that? No. I don't know what it is. What are you currently reading?
So right now I'm reading The Mirage Factory by Gary Christ. I just started The Stranger Game by Peter Gadel. And I'm listening on Audible to Fruit of the Drunken Tree by Ingrid Rojas Contreras.
I have that. I think I'm not going to like it, though. Is it really fiction-y?
It's pretty fiction-y.
I think so. I know. But I've heard it picks up it has like a really strong second half.
Oh, good. Because that's about where I am.
Okay. I've heard it gets really good at the end. So let me know if I need to read it.
All right.
What are some books that you're maybe looking forward to reading?
Well, I have a stack on my bedside table right now. One of them is nonfiction. It's Dear America, Notes of an Undocumented Citizen by Jose Antonio Vargas. Have you read it?
I've seen it. I've not read it yet.
Yeah. And then I'm really excited to read this new collection of short stories about LA and what it means to be home. It's called Fight No More by Lydia Millay. Have you seen that?
No.
She's incredible.
Okay. And you love LA things.
I do.
Heather reads a ton about California. You write about California.
That's true.
So you research like crazy by reading books placed here?
Well, I try to immerse myself in the world. And so also on my bedside table right now is Telegraph Avenue by Michael Chabon. And I think my next project, which I've just started
Dipping
writing.
your toe.
Yeah, it's going to be set in Northern California. So I'm excited to return home and read anything and everything, fiction, nonfiction. So give me your recommendations.
Yes.
I know you've sent me some, like going back decades.
Well, listeners, if you have Northern California books, send them to Heather. I'll link to her in the show notes so you can just send her all your things. How do you pick your next book or books, since you clearly read multiple books at once?
Yeah, I'm usually reading about 3 books at a time. One is for research. So that would be, I have a list of things that I want to get through based on what I'm working on. And then one is usually for pure pleasure. And then I usually pick something on Audible that's kind of zeitgeisty. But, I'm friends with a lot of journalists and writers, and just, through social media or conversations, people are constantly recommending, and, you've sent me some great recs too.
Oh, yay. Good. I'm glad to hear it, because I feel like you send me everything. I'm always asking you for recommendations. What happens when you're like, you have your list and something new comes out? Do you bump it up?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. You're not a stickler to the list.
No.
What's a book that you love to recommend to people? I know I've been on the receiving end of many.
Well, so I am very specific in my recommendations, and I tailor them. So the Executioner's Song I would not recommend to most people.
But I got the recommendation.
But if I know someone's going to, I've recommended it to a few fellow writers.
Okay.
And yeah, it's incredible if you're up for that kind of page commitment.
Right. Because it's like 1,100 pages.
But it really depends on who is asking and why.
Right. What's a really good book that someone has recommended to you?
Well, you recommended An American Marriage to me.
I did?
You did. And I know that you had said at the time that it wasn't, that you liked it, but you didn't love it, but you knew that I would love it. And you were right.
Oh, good. I'm so glad.
Yeah.
I liked it. Yeah, it's good. What's the best book you've received as a gift?
My dad gives me really good books. And so he is a professor, and he's a collector of books, and turned me into a collector of books. And for my 21st birthday, he gave me a first edition of Virginia Woolf's A Room of One's Own, which is one of my favorite all-time books. And I had done my thesis on her. And
wow.
So, yeah.
Like a really special
That
one.
was pretty up there.
That's amazing. Do you set reading goals for yourself?
Kind of. I mean, I have a very specific list I'm trying to get through, and yeah.
But just the list. It's not like you don't have a number, or like a certain book by a certain number of books by a certain author, or like any more specific.
I don't know. I feel like if I did that, it would take the pleasure out of it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Just getting through that list,
yeah,
which I'm sure grows every day.
Mm-hmm.
How do you organize your books?
I have really strong feelings about this.
I'm very curious.
I need to look around.
I'm color coordinated, which I'm sure you hate.
Oh my God, I hate that so much.
But I can remember, I know where all my books are because I know what color the spine is. Even if the cover is like I have a book, the cover is gold, but the spine is red. So it's with the red books, but I know that. And I think of it as a red book.
Interesting.
You're alphabetical by genre or something, like you're like an actual library.
I have different bookcases for different genres.
Oh.
And then within that, on fiction, it's arranged by author and then alphabetized title within author.
Okay.
Not type A at all.
No.
And then on other bookshelves, it would be by subject.
Okay. I used to do it. I've done it different ways, but I just like the way it looks with it being all my colorful books are in a different room though, because it's too much color. Are there any genres that you love or that you avoid?
Well, I think we know that I love fiction. But I also read a lot of nonfiction and essays, and from grad school I started reading poetry again, which I really put under nonfiction.
Okay.
But that's been cool. And I guess I would say no to science fiction, but then I love Octavia Butler and Ray Bradbury, so like no romance.
Yeah. I think also like for a lot of genres, even for me, and I don't read a ton of anything besides nonfiction, I still feel like if it's good, like I'll do it. You know, like Kindred I loved.
Right.
But like I don't know if I'm now going to go read like every science fiction book ever written. Like I feel like it's got to be like really good.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'll read the cream of the crop in anything.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm not really science fiction-y. Valentine's Day is upon us, and I've got love on the brain. Love for books, duh, of course. Hello. Did you forget what podcast you're listening to? I love bringing you all great reads, exclusive author interviews, and behind the scenes book gossip. But I can only do that with your support over on Patreon and Substack. Our Stacks Patreon community, also known as the Stacks Pack, is where you can go for book club meetups, a private, very active Discord, and a year-long mega reading challenge to help you achieve all your reading goals. Plus, you also get that monthly bonus episode. Now, over on the Substack, you can subscribe to my newsletter, Unstacked, where I keep the book conversations going. I also give you a healthy dose of sports and pop culture, definitely some hot takes happening over there. And again, that bonus episode. If you don't have a few dollars to spare, don't worry. There are free options on the Substack and the Patreon to get you a little extra Stacks magic. Making this podcast is a total team effort, and by supporting my Patreon and my Substack, you allow me to support my amazing team that makes the show possible every single week. So if you or your friends are looking to meet other book lovers and support this indie podcast, come hang out with me on Patreon, Substack, or both. I would love to have you. And since we're talking about love, you can gift subscriptions to the Patreon and the Substack for that special reader in your life. For the Stacks Pack, head to patreon.com/thestacks. And for the newsletter, head to tracythomas.substack.com. And also, there are links to both in the show notes. Okay, see you in the Stacks. What's the last book that made you laugh?
I had never read Prep by Curtis Sittenfeld.
Oh, I've never read it either.
You wouldn't like it. It's fiction. But it's about boarding school, and I think she's about the same age as I am. And so there's a lot of high school that's familiar to me, and she's really quite scathing in a way that sneaks up on you. So
nice. I like that.
Funny.
I might like that.
You might like it.
I like scathing.
It's fiction-y.
Yeah. Okay, well. What's the last book that made you cry?
Unaccompanied by Javier Zamora. And he's a poet from El Salvador, and it's a collection of poems about his crossing when he was 7 years old. And I was introduced to the book because I was at a conference in Arizona last year hearing him read, and he was having kind of a breakdown because it was the first time he had returned, and we were within a mile of the spot where he had crossed. And was having, like PTSD. And it was really emotional. That he's an incredible talent. He's a fellow at Harvard now. He was at Stanford for the last couple years. And I think we're going to be hearing a lot more from him.
That's amazing. What's the last book that made you angry?
I think it's one that maybe made you angry, which is The Line Becomes a River.
Yeah. I hated that book.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to talk about what made you angry?
What made me angry, as a journalist, one of the sort of tenets of journalism is humanity, and that a journalist should do no harm. And I appreciate that he wasn't a journalist, but he went into the Border Patrol to understand it and stayed. And stayed for 2 years, got paid a lot of money to do that, and then got a huge book advance to write it. We'll be talking about Nancy's book, To the Bridge. She didn't have to murder someone to write it.
Right.
So I really question the ethics of this writer.
And one of the things that I've heard, because I've been pretty public about my dislike of that book, and some people have said back to me like, well, you don't have to have journalist integrity if you write a memoir. And I just feel like
that's true. That doesn't mean I have to like it.
Right. But I also feel like if you're writing a memoir about something that happened in your life versus something that you made happen in your life.
Correct.
Like, I think that there should be different standards. If I'm writing the story about, you know, my day at Flywheel, that's different than if I'm writing the story about if I've made something happen to then write the story. Like, that's, I feel like then at that point it's got to be something different than a memoir, because
I mean, I don't know, because you talk about journalists becoming the story, and, you know, something very tragic like Daniel Pearl, that's a journalist who becomes the story, right?
I don't think I know that story.
Well, he was killed, and that's relevant today with what's happening in Saudi Arabia. But the point is that sometimes journalists, particularly war correspondents, become the story.
Sure.
Not of their will, but just because of the nature. This was different.
Well, right, but in that
this felt exploitive.
Yeah, in that case, though, they're also reporting on something that is still happening around them. They didn't say like, "Let's go to war so I can be a correspondent." I just also feel like if that's the case, if you kind of put the ball in motion, that then you should have to have a certain level of integrity that you might not have to have if you're just writing your own memoir. Do you know what I mean?
Right, and he sort of, you know, washes over his complicity in it. I mean, he was hunting down human beings.
Right. And yes, there's so much of him like giving people the shirt off his back and like tasting their food and sharing with them. And it's like, yeah, but what about the other stuff you were doing?
Right.
Like, were you just the only nice person in the history of Border Patrol? Like, I don't know if that's really true. And also then there's the question of, is there such thing as a good Border Patrol person or police officer, right? Like as part of that institution, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, that book really pissed me off.
Yeah.
Still makes me angry. I think we both read it like months ago.
Let's go to a happy place. Let's bring it down.
Let's get out of here. Bye, Francisco. Are there any books that you feel super proud about having read?
Proud as far as like it felt like running a marathon. The one that still makes me mad from college was Sir Philip Sidney's Countess of Pembroke's Arcadia. It was like 1,100 words of pastoral poetry, and I wanted to kill myself.
Sounds like my nightmare.
Right.
But you're proud that you got through it.
Well, it felt like an accomplishment. Sure.
Yeah. What about any books you're embarrassed about having read?
Oh, without a doubt, The Bridges of Madison County is the worst book I've ever read. But if you read it as a comedy, it's not intended as one. It's like the writing is so bad.
Have you seen the movie?
No.
Well, people love the movie. Isn't
I
it
know.
Meryl?
People love the book.
Oh, they do. Well,
yeah.
Sure. People love things. Most things. I hate most things that people love. So what do I know? Do you have a favorite like character from your readings? Or
I can think of a favorite, least favorite character, which is kind of a bigger discussion about the kind of books I like.
Okay.
I love antiheroes.
Okay.
And so a character I love to hate is Mickey Sabbath in Philip Roth's Sabbath's Theater. Okay. And it's probably one of the novels I return to most often. If I'm stuck in my writing, I pick up Sabbath's Theater and I randomly turn to any page and read, and the writing is so brilliant that it gets me going. I mean, in real life, Philip Roth is like he recently died, but a horrible misogynist, sure. As is this character. But I think there's also something to be learned about forgiveness and humanity in this character.
Mm-hmm. And what's the book about? I don't know that book.
Oh, it's set in New York and New England, and it's so misogynistic. He's like a failed puppeteer. And, yeah.
Weird. Okay. What about a favorite book from your childhood?
My favorite book, hands down, was this book called The Amazing Bone. Okay. It was about a talking bone and the lady pig Pearl who carried her around. And I was so obsessed with it that an artist friend of my parents painted my entire room out of the book's pages.
Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. And do you read it to your kids? Have you?
Yeah, they didn't take to it like I did, but it's amazing.
How do you, I know your kids like read and stuff.
Yeah.
How do you make that a priority in their world?
Well, we just always do it. And something I had to kind of get past with kids is let them read whatever they want, even if that's, a comic book or, whatever they want. Reading is reading, and that's good. So I absolutely, I try out things that I liked with them or that my husband liked, but ultimately they love our local bookstore, Chevalier's, and they just go in there and plop down in those little kiddie chairs and check things out.
That's so great.
Yeah.
And what's like a book that they're loving right now? What each of them or either of them?
George is reading this series called, they're biography books, and he has one about like who was Babe Ruth, and then he's reading like who was Michelle Obama, and then Freddie's super into like books about Ninjago, and
I don't know what that is.
It's like a Lego show and fighting.
I thought that was like a real thing I was supposed to know.
And danger, and he loves danger.
George is 10?
Yeah.
And Freddie's
6.
Okay. What was a favorite book that was assigned to you in school?
I would have to say Another Country by James Baldwin.
When do you remember, high school or?
I think that was early college.
Okay.
I can't remember. It could have been high school, but I love that one. For sure in college, a book that I absolutely loved was Wide Sargasso Sea by Jean Rhys. Have you read it? They made a film about it, but it is, so we all read Jane Eyre and The Crazy Woman in the Attic. This is about the history of the crazy woman in the attic and who made her that way. And it's set in the Caribbean, and it's incredible.
Whoa. If you were going to assign a book to high school students, what do you think you would assign?
I reread last year Ernest Gaines' A Lesson Before Dying, and I think I would want to assign that one.
I've never read that either.
That's one that I think that you should read. Okay. It's set in Jim Crow era, and a man faces the death penalty, and it's a teacher's job to have this man consider himself as human worth before he faces execution. It's a real uplifting book.
Sounds like my kind of book. I like it real dark and stormy. What's a favorite book of yours that was written by someone who's super different from you? So like maybe race, gender, identity, where they live. I don't know. Anything.
A favorite book written by someone who is who doesn't look like me is by Paul Beatty, and that is The Sellout. I love that book. We've talked about that.
You told me to read it. I really liked it, shockingly. It's good.
It's so good.
And it's LA, which is LA.
Fun. And for me, I remember reading the first few pages and I was laughing. And then all of a sudden there's like this punch to the gut where I took like an audible gasp, and he's a brilliant writer.
Well, and I happen to, I think I remember this correctly. You were reading that book around the time of the election. And you kind of had to like pause a little bit.
I did. Yeah.
Which goes to that conversation of like, it matters when you read something, even like the week you read it in your, like where you are in your world and in your life. But yeah, because I waited to read it until a few months. You were like, you should wait and read it. And so I did. And I went right through it. Who do you think you would like to write the book of your life?
And my life is so boring. It would be such a boring read.
It'll be great. It'll be all about writing and reading. It'll be like a love letter to books, basically.
Oh, well, I don't know.
Well, you could write it too if you wanted.
Sure.
I'll write it for you. It'll be 6 sentences. It'll be done in a day. Were there any books that you feel like influenced you professionally? Like in your
100%.
Right.
In Cold Blood by Truman Capote. And I read that in high school, and I was pretty young in high school. And it scared me so badly that I slept outside of my parents' room on the floor. After they went to bed, I took a sleeping bag out there for a couple nights until I could kind of talk myself off the roof. But to me, that just blew my mind about what nonfiction could do.
I loved that book. When I read that book, I don't know, 10 years ago, my roommate at the time, he also was like, you need to read Executioner's Song. And I was like, I can't. It's too much right now. But I couldn't read In Cold Blood at night. I was living in New York. And so in New York, there's not quite as much of the scary for that book because like here in LA or like anywhere that's not New York, you're worried that like some stranger is going to come and kill you in your sleep at night at home in your house. But in New York, I was like, I live in an apartment. Like, good luck getting in here, pal. But I still was terrified.
Yeah.
Terrified. And so good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Fuck, that book is good. Do you have favorite authors?
I do. And we've talked about some of them. Joan Didion for sure. Dana Johnson, Paul Beatty, Philip Roth, Virginia Woolf. And then for short stories, I love Lucia Berlin.
Okay. I never really do short stories. Are you big into them?
I like them when I read them, but I don't gravitate toward them.
I just read Heads of the Colored People by, I think her name is Nafisa Thompson Spires. And it's her debut book, but it was nominated. And it's all about middle-class Black life. So it's like really, you know, like mundane problems that we normally associate with like white people's shit. Like a girl who's trying to figure out the best post she can write on social media to kill herself. So it's like funny, dark funny, or like a woman who's a fruit only. What do you, not a vegetarian, a fruitarian.
Fruitarian. Wow.
Yeah. And like these like funny, quirky, like, and I really liked it. And I didn't think that I liked short stories. So now I'm like, maybe I should try to read short stories.
Well, if you do, then the first book that I recommend is a collection by Dana Johnson, and it's called In the Not Quite Dark.
Okay.
And as I recall, most of them take place in LA and downtown LA, so and the contemporary.
And she's the one who wrote Elsewhere, California.
She is.
Okay. Favorite adaptation of a book or to film or TV, or something maybe that was even better than the book?
Better than the book? Jaws.
Oh,
that movie
I didn't
is
even know
so
Jaws was a book.
Great. Jaws was a book written by my father-in-law's college roommate.
Whoa.
But the movie's incredible. And John and I were celebrating our anniversary earlier this summer and did a weekend away in a hotel. And we're watching Jaws late night. And it's still amazing. And that probably tells you a lot about our marriage. But anyway, yeah, totally.
I've never seen Jaws.
What?
I know. I've never seen most classic movies or like not classic, like modern, you know, like I've never seen Godfather.
Which is another book that the movie was better.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's good to know. Okay. What about something that you would turn into a movie or a TV show?
I think it's crazy that The Sympathizer by Viet Thanh Nguyen has not been optioned.
Has it not been optioned or it just hasn't moved forward?
Well, I mean, I follow him on Twitter. He's a great follow on Twitter. And he had recently said that it hadn't been.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a fiction book that I'm going to read.
It is. It
I
should
have
be.
it. I own it. It's here. I just haven't done it yet.
I will say that the first...
It takes a while to get into.
It does, and then you can't put it down.
I've heard this from many people. I mean,
it's worth it.
I like to read Pulitzer Prize winning books just to read, just like I like to see Oscar winning movies. Whether or not I actually like them is a totally different conversation, but I do try to prioritize reading at least one or two a year. And I found, I mean, I don't love fiction, but I found that the fiction books that win are usually not things that I like.
Interesting.
But the nonfiction books,
always.
Sometimes, most of them. The one that won this year, Locking Up Our Own, I was a little medium on.
I haven't read it.
I don't know. It didn't do it for me. But like last year's, 2017, Blood in the Water and Evicted were both like freaking amazing. And then I read, what was the nonfiction? Or what was the fiction?
From last year? It wasn't the Underground Railroad, was it? Or was that 2 years ago?
Okay, it was the Underground Railroad. Heather got it right. That one was good. That's maybe one of the few that I love. But Executioner Song won. But for the novel, do you know how that happens? Because I tried to Google it, I couldn't find it.
I don't know. That's so strange.
It didn't win for nonfiction.
Interesting.
Yeah, but like In Cold Blood didn't win, but it was up for nonfiction.
Right.
Which is, I thought, confusing to me as well. Okay. All right. Well, we've got to our last question. If you could require the current president of the United States to read one book, what would it be?
Well, like I said, with my kids, like any book would be a good start. But, you know, maybe one that my kids loved when they were really little. It's called Hey Little Ant, about a boy who's about to step on an ant, and it's told from the ant's perspective. and, like to squish or not to squish.
Right.
And our president does a lot of squishing.
A lot of squishing.
Mm-hmm.
It's so interesting. I would say, I don't know, you're probably our 15th or 16th guest, and I would say at least 10 people have recommended children's books to our current president.
That's a good place to start.
Yeah. I mean, imagine being a full-grown adult and everyone thinks you need to read a children's book, like, let alone the leader of our great nation.
Well, it's about attention span, right?
Yeah, and understanding of, like,
empathy
ideas.
and basic human emotion.
Totally. All right. Do you have anything else you would like to add today?
Tracy, thank you so much for having me.
I'm so glad you're here. Heather's one of my favorite people to talk books with.
Mine too.
We're going to be back next week. We're going to talk about Nancy Rommelmann's book, To the Bridge. Another book that Heather recommended to me was Nancy Rommelmann's book, To the Bridge. And Nancy, you guys worked together.
We did.
You were her editor?
I'm unclear on that.
Okay.
We can't remember.
Okay.
But I was for sure her sister-in-law's editor
Okay.
on many, many stories. And Nancy and I met in a booth at Musso and Frank, and the rest is history.
Yeah, and she's great. And she was on a few weeks ago, and everyone just loved her. And so I'm excited to actually get to talk about her book. So we'll be doing that next week. It's called To the Bridge. It's linked in the show notes with everything else that we're talking about today. And yeah, thank you so much, Heather.
Thank you.
All right, kiddos, that does it for this week. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you to our guest, Heather John Fogarty. Heather will be back next week to discuss To the Bridge by Nancy Rommelmann for our Stacks Book Club. So check out that book before you listen. Remember, you can support this show by being a member of the Stacks Pack at patreon.com/thestacks. Make sure you're subscribed to this show wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're listening to us through Apple Podcasts, please rate and review the show. Our graphic designer is Robin McCrank. Our theme music comes from Tegirigis, and this show was created and produced by me, Tracy Thomas. I'll see you in the Stacks.